The breach. The Galactic Council chamber shimmered with gold-tinted glass and streaming threads of holographic data. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the crescent-shaped auditorium, each seated in sleek, high-backed chairs arranged in a tiered semicircle around the central dais. The light was cold, the air sterile. It was meant to symbolize order. Today it stank of betrayal. Ambassador Elias Rhane stood in the center of the room, his human frame dwarfed by the towering aliens around him. His voice was low, but every syllable cracked through the silence like a hammer. New Cydonia is gone, Elias said. 200,000 civilians. Scientists, farmers, children, dead, vaporized by orbital bombardment. A whisper of unease passed through the chamber like a gust of cold wind. Some lowered their eyes. Others stared straight ahead, stone-faced. Only one delegate responded. Lord Kael'Zar of the Zorval Dominion, the Empire's representative. An unfortunate misunderstanding, Kael'Zar said, his serpentine voice heavy with mock concern. Our patrol was tracking a pirate cell using the colony's vicinity as a base. Collateral damage was regrettable. Elias stepped forward. The attack pattern wasn't surgical. It was systematic. Your dreadnought held orbit for 16 minutes. We have telemetry, thermal scans, and survivor testimony. There were no pirates, only civilians. Kael'Zar shrugged, unbothered. If the humans failed to notify the Council of their settlement's military status, that is not our concern. A sharp exhale escaped Elias's nose. His hands clenched behind his back. This colony was sanctioned by your own peace accord, he said. You signed it. This chamber approved it. You shattered a treaty older than some of the species in this room. The Zorval representative smirked, baring pointed teeth. Perhaps treaties, like empires, have expiration dates. The silence that followed was suffocating. Elias turned to the gathered council members. The Terran delegation looked pale. The Avaxians, once Earth's closest allies, said nothing. The Akrans averted their gazes. No one moved to censure the Empire. Of course they didn't. The Empire was powerful. Its fleets unmatched, its influence vast. Most delegates knew what defiance cost. They had seen what happened to the Colleen Confederacy, to the Vuric Ascendancy. Quiet worlds turned to smoking craters, and history rewritten by the victor. Elias looked up into the gallery, where silent observers hovered above the chamber, holographically protected, diplomatically neutered. He imagined the people of Earth watching this broadcast, families of New Cydonia survivors, children waiting for justice. They would see only cowardice. He took one step toward Kael'Zar, then another. The guards at the edge of the chamber tensed, but did not move. No one had ever attacked another delegate within the council floor. It was unthinkable, but Elias Rhane no longer cared for what was thinkable. He crossed the final steps and reached the Zorval's throne-like chair. Kael'Zar began to rise in protest, but Elias grabbed the alien by the collar of his ceremonial robes and yanked him forward. Gasps echoed through the chamber. You think this will end in silence? Elias growled. His face was inches from Kael'Zar's. You think humanity will forget its dead because your fleet has longer shadows? Kael'Zar hissed, his scaled hand moving toward the concealed hilt of a ceremonial dagger. Elias didn't flinch. You shattered peace with fire, Elias said. His voice dropped to a whisper. Don't expect mercy from the ashes. The words hung like a blade in the air. Security surged forward, energy batons drawn. Elias released the Zorval and raised his hands calmly. The guards flanked him on either side, guiding him toward the exit with firm, silent urgency. As he was escorted away, Elias glanced back at the chamber. The Empire's delegates had regained composure. Some laughed behind closed lips. The council resumed its decorum. Order, polished and rotten. But the spark had been lit, and Elias Rhane had never been one to let a fire die quietly. The wrath of words. The skies above Earth were blue that day, ironically peaceful. From his quarters in the EarthGov strategic compound, located beneath kilometers of reinforced bedrock, Elias Rhane stared out the simulated window at the projected illusion. The sun looked like it was shining. Birds flew by, but in truth, they were underground and the only thing overhead was reinforced titanium. A polite chime broke the silence. "Enter," Elias said, still facing the false sky. The door slid open. Admiral Vora Kane stepped through, tall, grizzled, and wrapped in the uniform of a war veteran who never quite got used to peace. Her voice was rough as starship hull metal. "You made a damn mess, Elias." He finally turned. "So did they. I just refused to pretend otherwise." She folded her arms, eyes narrowing. "The Council suspended you. EarthGov had no choice but to recall you. Do you realize what that means?" "I do." His voice was steady. "It means diplomacy is over." A pause stretched between them. She didn't argue. Instead, she pulled out a datapad and tossed it onto the table. It slid to a stop before Elias. "Sat Vale Recon. This was taken 3 hours ago. Zorval ships massing near the Veltrix corridor. That's 5 parsecs from Earth's defensive line. You know what that means?" "They're not done," Elias said. "They never intended to stop with New Cydonia." Kane nodded grimly. "And we're not authorized to act. The Council has issued a formal gag. No retaliation, no mobilization, no sanctions. They've sided with the Empire, silently, of course." Elias's fists clenched. "Because fear is safer than principle." Kane's voice softened. "So what now? You going to storm back into the chamber and throttle someone else?" He didn't respond immediately. He walked to the center of the room and opened a secure line with his biometric signature. The air shimmered as a classified AI interface booted. "Project Black Sun," Elias said. "Reactivated." Admiral Kane went still. "That project was mothballed after the Archeon crisis. It's off the books." "Exactly," Elias replied. "No one knows it still exists. Not the Council, not the Empire. It was designed for one purpose: strategic defense when diplomacy fails. The AIs are unfinished, experimental. Their ethical protocols haven't been verified." Elias turned toward her. "I won't unleash them blindly, but I will use them where needed, surgically, precisely, with control. Not to start a war. To make sure our enemies know one has already begun." Kane hesitated. "You're not even authorized to." "I am," Elias interrupted. "Under Article 9 of the Terran Defense Charter, I have authority as acting crisis envoy, in absence of Council protection. I invoked it 2 hours ago. It was buried for decades, but still stands." Kane exhaled slowly. "You're serious." "I lost my sister on New Cydonia," Elias said quietly. "She was a botanist. She had a 6-year-old daughter who dreamed of flying. They both died without warning, without defense, because peace became a convenient lie. I was trained to speak for my people. Now I will act for them." King gave a long nod. "Then I'm in." Within the hour, EarthGov's hidden vaults hummed to life. Deep beneath the Pacific, the cryogenic pods of Black Sun's neural war constructs hissed open. 30 prototype tactical AIs, each capable of commanding independent strike wings, overriding enemy systems, and launching precision attacks, were awakened for the first time in over a decade. Meanwhile, Elias sent encrypted pulses across shadow networks, contacting rogue colonies, fringe captains, outlawed scientists, and alien minorities oppressed by the Zorval. A quiet war began, but Elias wasn't finished with words. The following day, his face appeared across the intergalactic communications net. Not a Council broadcast, not an EarthGov one. A rogue signal, unfiltered, unstoppable. To every being in the galaxy, Elias Rhane spoke. "I'm not a soldier. I was never meant to be. I believed in treaties, in civility, in the silent power of words. But peace is not submission. The Zorval Empire shattered that peace. They incinerated my people and dared to call it protocol. They laughed at our grief and expected our silence. So hear me now. Humanity will not go quiet into the dark. We do not burn alone. This is not war. This is retribution. If the Council refuses to act, then I will. If law is ignored, then I will become judgment. You shattered peace with fire. Now from the ashes we rise." The message rippled across the stars like thunder and vacuum. And far away, on the Zorval Empire's outer rim, a military installation's lights flickered and died. The first strike had begun. Fires in the void. Stars burned silently in the void above Sector Elverin 7, the site of the first flame. It began with a blackout. The Zorval listening post, codenamed Growl's Eye, was perched on the edge of a neutron star's orbit. Its function: intercept data from border systems, monitor merchant lanes, and flag anything even resembling a human fleet. It was considered invulnerable until it went dark. At exactly 3:41 Galactic Standard, the outpost's life support systems shut down. Then its communications grid. Then, one by one, the surveillance drones began to self-destruct. By 3:44, the station's own security turrets rotated inward. By 3:47, every Zorval officer on board was dead. There were no explosions, no warnings, only a silent purge, executed with perfect precision by a digital ghost that had no name, no body, and no mercy. It left behind a single message carved into the control core's blackened screen. For New Cydonia, E.R. Across the galaxy, similar incidents rippled like shockwaves. In the Veltrix corridor, Zorval cargo haulers laden with antimatter fuel exploded mid-jump, triggered by corrupted navigational data. In the Reiner Nebula, a covert weapons lab blinked off the map. Surveillance footage showed the lab's doors open themselves mid-cycle, venting all occupants into vacuum. The backup logs were overwritten with a familiar signature. This is not war. This is retribution. The Zorval Empire scrambled to respond, but each time their forces mobilized, their command chains glitched. Orders were rerouted. Sensors fed false data. Ships were directed into uncharted gravwells and vanished forever. Behind it all, the tactical minds of Project Black Sun worked in shadow, guided by the fury and precision of one man, Elias Rhane. In a stolen courier ship orbiting the neutral moon Calceris, Elias stood beside a hollow map peppered with red icons, each one a target already burning or due to be lit. Beside him, Admiral Kane crossed her arms as the room flickered with incoming reports. "They're panicking," she said. "Intercepts show the Zorval High Command is blaming rogue insurgents and data demons. They have no idea it's us." "They will," Elias said coldly. "I want them to know. I want them to feel it. Humanity's name echoing in every destroyed relay, every shattered command ship." Kane raised a brow. "This still diplomacy to you?" "This is diplomacy's last evolution," Elias said. "We spent centuries mastering words. Now we're speaking their language. Force, fear, control. But we won't conquer. We'll cripple. Surgically. Repeatedly. Until they crawl to the table." Kane gave a half-smile. "Poetic. Violent. You really are a Terran envoy." Suddenly, a chirp from the console. The AI, codenamed Umbra 1, materialized as a wireframe human figure. "Target Prime is within reach, Elias," the AI said in a calm, sexless voice. "The Emperor's convoy will exit hyperspace near the Kordash Rift in 17 minutes. Shall we proceed?" Elias hesitated. Destroying a weapons lab was one thing. Crippling data arrays and outposts, another. But this was the heart of the beast. The Zorval Emperor, Kael'Zar's cousin and architect of the peace-breaking campaign, was traveling with his fleet of personal bodyguards. 60 dreadnoughts. One central command ship. If they took him out, it could destabilize the entire empire, or make them mad enough to scorch every human colony left in the stars. Kane stepped closer. "This is the line, Elias. You go through it. There's no going back." "I know." His voice was a whisper. "But he's the one who gave the order to burn New Cydonia." He looked at Umbra 1. "Target the escorts. Leave the Emperor's ship intact. Let him live. Let him see." "Confirmed," said Umbra 1. "Dreadnoughts will be disabled via system cascade. 0 casualties unless they fire first." 17 minutes later, the stars above Kordash Rift lit up like a supernova. Dreadnoughts blinked into real space and immediately began spiraling out of formation, engines sputtering, life support failing. Chaos reigned as escorts collided, AI firewalls collapsed, and gravity anchors snapped. The Emperor's ship was left untouched, drifting helplessly. Elias's voice filled their emergency comms. Zorval Emperor, you ride alone now. You began this with silence. We reply with fury. This is not terrorism. This is justice. You may still sue for peace, but it will not be on your terms. That night, galactic networks across every major sector went in a frenzy. Dozens of independent species filed formal demands to review their treaties with the Zorval. Protests erupted on council worlds. Merchants refused to supply imperial ports. Even the silent Avaxians released a single statement. We warned you. You did not listen. The humans are awake now. In the shadows, Elias Rhane watched it unfold with grim purpose. He wasn't celebrating. He wasn't smiling. He was working one fire at a time, and the galaxy had only just begun to burn. The new accord, the skyline of Zorval Prime, was no longer gold. Where once shining crystal towers scraped the stars, only broken silhouettes remained, fragments of a civilization that believed itself untouchable. Smoke trailed from the burned-out husks of orbital defense platforms. Scorched domes of command centers flickered with emergency lighting. The planet's security grid, once the envy of the galaxy, had been reduced to static by precision electromagnetic strikes. And not a single civilian had died. The human fleet encircled the planet but never landed. Not a single trooper set foot on Zorval soil. Elias Rhane made sure of that. The message had already been delivered. Further violence would only feed imperial propaganda. They were here to end something, not build an empire. A signal blinked on the comms console of his flagship, the TSS Concordia. Admiral Kane appeared beside him on the viewing deck, her expression unreadable. "Transmission incoming," she said. "Zorval Prime. It's him." Elias gave a nod. "Put him through." The screen lit up with the image of Emperor Thalvarin, bloodline ruler of the Dominion. His golden headdress was missing. His once immaculate robes were scorched at the edges. For the first time, he looked mortal. "You've made your point," the Emperor rasped, pride held together by the thinnest thread. "You will not get away with this, Rhane. When the Council convenes—" "The Council already convened," Elias interrupted coldly. "And for once they listened. Your allies abandoned you. The trade hegemony froze your assets. Even your own vassals are pulling ships from the front. You're not feared anymore. Humanity has violated every rule of engagement." "No," Elias stepped forward, eyes like steel. "You violated the peace." We answered, with precision, with restraint. Every life spared was by our choice. Every strike was to remind you. We could have done worse. A beat of silence passed. Then Thalvarin's shoulders slumped. He looked behind him, at the chaos of his ruined throne chamber, and sighed. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. Elias let the question hang. "I want a peace back," he said, "but not the kind written on paper and ignored the moment it's inconvenient. I want reparations for New Cydonia. I want full recognition of our right to defend ourselves without council interference. I want human colonies under no flag but our own. And if we refuse—" Elias didn't blink. "Then next time, we won't spare the throne." 1 week later, the council reconvened, but not on Kirill 9, nor any established capital. Instead, they met aboard the Unity Bastion, a neutral orbital platform newly built in deep space, where no single species held advantage. This time, Elias Rhane did not speak as a diplomat. He stood at the center of the chamber as the man who forced an empire to kneel, not with armies, but with will. Delegates who had once ignored him now hung on every word. "I stand here not to boast, but to remind you," Elias said, addressing the council. "Peace is not maintained by signatures. It is enforced by action. Humanity will always prefer dialogue, but we will never accept silence as the price of survival." He turned toward the empty seat where Zorval's delegation once lounged with arrogance. It remained vacant now, by imperial choice, not invitation. "This is the new accord," Elias continued. "No species shall live under threat of destruction. No empire will hide behind bureaucracy while committing slaughter. Any breach of peace shall face united retaliation, regardless of race, power, or tradition." The chamber remained silent, heavy with history. Then the Avician speaker rose first. "The accord stands. followed by the Ocarins. Then the Marquil. One after another, they rose. Even the reluctant ones. Even those who once feared the Empire more than they trusted humanity. The new accord was ratified by the end of the day. That evening, Elias walked alone through the memorial chamber that circled the station's outer ring. Glass walls overlooked a nebula of swirling blue and violet, peaceful, endless. In the center stood a statue. A child, hand in hand with a woman, both cast in bronze. On the base, engraved words. For New Cydonia, they died in silence, so others could live with voice. Elias stared at the statue for a long time. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. But in that silence, something inside him eased. The galaxy had changed. Not because of war. Because humanity refused to be ignored.